In episode 503, Ryan and Jose are joined by David Blair and Eric Vanderholt for the Book Club of Blood and the story Jacqueline S. Her Will and Testament. So if you haven't read Jacqueline S. Her Will and Testament, read it now or listen to the audiobook and then come back and join along while we do the Book Club of Blood. This is the Clive Barker Podcast, where longtime fans, Ryan and Jose, interview guests, bring you the news, and take deep dives into Barker-related stuff. This episode is sponsored by Don Bertram's Celebrate Imagination. Don Bertram is a longtime friend of Clive and advocate of his art, but Don's unique and inspiring paintings are for sale, and over 50% of the proceeds go to the Arts and Medicine program at the Texas Children's Cancer Center. There's even a paver in Washington, D.C. representing Celebrate Imagination. We're thrilled that this worthy cause is sponsoring our podcast again this year, and we hope that you'll consider looking over his Pinterest page and commissioning a painting of your own. For commissions, Don requires no money down, and there will be no obligation on your part. You can also head over to the Etsy shop to buy one of his books, like A Chimney Sweep's Tale, Celebrate Imagination, or The Imaginaries. Follow the link in the show notes, or click on the side banner, and let's see what's new with Don Bertram today. On his Facebook page, you can find Fawns 1 and Fawns 2, Heart Study 1 and Heart Study 2, and Devotion 1 and Devotion 2. So I've got links to those in the show notes if you want to see what they look like. You can also take a look at his art video, Billy, Bobby, and the Bug Brothers, and his other introduction to the 35th anniversary Hellraiser screening. Let's welcome our other sponsor, Ed Martinez, and his YouTube channel. Lots of great special effects videos and Barker-related content. What's the latest from Ed? Ed and Nina have put together a new short going over the new puzzle box configuration from Hellraiser 2022. So check it out. Of course, the best way to support this podcast is through our Patreon at patreon.com/BarkerCast589. Our subscribers will get exclusive access to content not available anywhere else, like our Collector's Corner video series, rare Barker videos, and early behind-the-scenes stuff. Plus, backers in the $10 tier will also be able to choose an episode topic, and we might mail you something once in a while, depending on your location. Our supporters also get access to the exclusive channel in our Discord server. We'll be forever grateful if you consider helping us out and subscribing to our Patreon. So what's new on Patreon? A warm and special thanks to our Patreon Circle of Magicians, David Anderson, Eric Vanderholt, Daniel Elvin, Amanda Stewart, Bradley Gartz, David Blair, Matthew Batten, and our returning sponsor, Don Bertram Celebrate Imagination, and our new sponsor, Ed Martinez's YouTube channel. So what's new on Patreon? Well, there's, if you follow the Jericho Squad 77 D&D game that we do, there was a special behind-the-scenes sort of battle that my brother Rob and I put together to show what happened in Drovo versus the 40 Cultists. Also, coming soon, an extended chat with Peter Atkins, and I just need to take the time to edit that and get that put up. All right, well, thank you. And now on to the actual episode. Welcome to episode 503 of the Clive Barker Podcast. This is the Book Club of Blood, Jacqueline S. Her Will and Testament. This is one of the more gruesome stories and one that had a fairly recent attempt at making a movie. And welcome back again, David Blair and Eric Vanderholt. I think last time we didn't introduce you, and we should have.
Oh, that's okay.
I'll do it in the introduction anyway when I edit.
Now this is starting to feel more like a book club. We got 4 people, not just me and Ryan.
We're just picking up where we left off.
Yeah. And so I hope that our listeners out there have taken the time to read it. And something I wanted to mention on our last episode that I just stopped myself because it's like, why talk about it early? If you listen to the audiobook, it has 2 narrators, one male and one female, Hilary Huber and Peter Barkerant. And so when it's Jacqueline S.'s point of view, it's Hilary Huber. And then when it's Vassie's point of view, then it's Peter Barker on. And I think that's great. I think they did a really nice job with that audiobook. And so if anybody gets a chance to, I listened to that while I followed along on the pages, like, kind of like a read along record sort of a deal. And it was fun to read it that way. Jacqueline S. Her Will and Testament in Books of Blood, Volume 2. I believe it's the third story in Volume 2.
That's right.
Yeah. What are your guys' thoughts? What did you think? Eric, how about you?
Yeah, to be honest, I had completely forgotten the story. I couldn't remember reading it.
Oh, yeah.
Me too.
So I in general, I liked the beginning, but I didn't like the direction it was going in. In Amsterdam, the last story, we'll talk about it, I think, later on. It felt like he was still honing his skills, his craft.
Sure.
Okay.
I recognized a lot of things that would, themes, images, jokes that would, come back later, for instance, in Hellraiser or other books. I like the body horror a lot. But the overall story, I wasn't too impressed with, to be honest. Yeah.
That's right. You are in Amsterdam right now, right?
Yeah.
I guess Clive's depiction of Amsterdam focuses more on the seedy part of the mythology of the red light district.
Amsterdam was a lot seedier in the 80s.
Okay.
I see.
Yeah.
But that's interesting that you're in Amsterdam, so you can speak a little bit to that how the city was back then, I guess.
I think the interesting part of it is the way that and there's more stories like this, right? The Life of Death, I think, is a really similar story too, where there's a female character that feels sort of dismissed or unappreciated or not taken seriously, and all of a sudden they're given this power to dominate everybody around them.
What about you, David? What are your thoughts on the story?
I also forgot I had read this story when I first read these books originally in the 80s. It seems like he has this thing where there's like a supernatural component where they're like these beings or sorcerers or goddesses that somehow have been co-opted in humanity's civilization where they've forgotten what they are. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like this where she shed her human side in the beginning with her suicide attempt. And then she kind of like reawoken her powers.
Yeah.
And then she's like just, slowly kind of remembering or learning how to use them. And then the very end, the description is where Vasily lays next to her and she just, turns into like a mist or a wash over him. Does she totally just lose her physical form at that point, or
he does mention her? He does mention her a lot. Describes her a lot as an ocean that he wanted to swim in, right?
Yeah. She goes like to like a primordial form she had before she chose her human form.
Yeah, that her powers aren't just powers. It's a transformation, and to the point where her physical body can't handle it anymore by the end.
Yeah. She's like losing her form.
Yeah.
I remember reading this story when I was buying the Books of Blood in paperback. I think I remember devouring this story the first time I read it. It's what I would call maybe feminist horror, not in the sense that feminism is scary, but in the sense that it's seen from the point of view of a woman living in a world where she's not taken seriously, or she has not achieved real love. She's almost all the men in her life have been basically just diminishing her in some way. She mentions in one of the bits of the story how every man she had been with always came up with pet names for her. Like they wouldn't never call her the full name Jacqueline.
Yeah.
It's either Jackie, Jay, Juju.
Yeah.
Terrible, yeah.
And like you said, David, it's funny that usually there's some sort of episode or some sort of catastrophe that happens that changes the person. In this case, she's so depressed and she feels so bored in patriarchal expectations that she decides to commit suicide. She's not a happy woman in her marriage. Mm-hmm. And it's after she comes back from her failed suicide attempt that it's like she's reawakened, and she goes on to see a doctor, right? See a doctor,
Therapist. Yeah.
a therapist. That's one of those guys like, just give you some pills and you'll be fine.
You got woman problems. I got problems too.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
We all got problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that doctor is like, there wasn't the word mansplaining, back then in 1984, but that's, it's describing that concept and how irritating that is, for the person.
Let me tell you about your problems.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you about you.
Mm-hmm.
And this power that she gets, I think we should describe that for those who haven't read it, although I wouldn't understand why you're listening to this if you haven't read it. Go read the story. But the power is that she can control her body almost to the molecular level, right? And not just her body, the bodies of other people. Like she can control flesh. So it becomes almost this power that's almost like a curse and a weapon, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because
she doesn't know how to use it. Like the first time she was thinking something, and then the doctor would say it. And it's like, did I say that out loud? What's going on? Until finally she kind of thinks about it a little bit more, focused on him, then things happen.
Yeah.
Right. So the doctor is being a bit dismissive, and he's talking about her woman problems. And all she can think is like, how do you know the problems that I'm having inside my head? You're not a woman. And it's that thought that starts taking form, right? And she gets so upset about the doctor.
Dr. Blandish.
He puts he pats her hand on the back of her hand. He's like, just trying to reassure her, being like very paternal, talking.
His explanations are like almost like an 1800s doctor. Like she's got the vapors, or she's just hysterical.
Yeah. He's dismissing it, saying that women's problems, depression, it's epidemic proportions among a certain age bracket. He's saying that it's just something that happens, but it's not just something that happens. You can look into why that's happening and try to work it out. But he just says probably was thinking of giving her medication and moving on.
He dismisses the entire, let's find the root of your problem, the root of your ennui. Yeah. Let's just prescribe you some hardcore sedatives, and antidepressives and gork you out for the next 20, 30 years,
Yeah, you just want something to help you sleep at nights. So that's what he tells her. He talks about women's needs, and she's like, how do you know my needs? You're not a woman. Yeah. And that's when he touches her back of her hand, like patting her and like treating her like a little girl, that thing comes out of her. She thinks she said, you're not a woman. But then she says, do you say something? And she said, no. And then he thinks, I think the best thing for you would be, and that's when it happens, right? Bow. She starts seeing him and says, be a woman. And that's how his body starts shifting and being pulled and tugged, and his breasts start inflating and it blows up, and it just becomes very gory.
Waist becomes woman.
Yep. The hips are becoming wider. The hip bone breaks, and the doctor kind of like in the middle of the horror of what's happening to him is just like trying to stand up, but he just can't. And she's just impassively doing this to the doctor. And at the end of it, I think it's when she comes to terms to the fact that she did that. She was just kind of out of it, but then.
So that wasn't a murder. It wasn't premeditated. No. It wasn't on purpose, but she also doesn't feel bad about it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's like, oh, wow, that was a thing. Look at
that.
Yeah. That's one of the things about her. Jacqueline has, she's not a very sympathetic character. She's kind of hard to connect to during the story because she's someone who is lost in the sense that she doesn't know what she really wants, and she gets this power and doesn't know how to use it, like you guys said. So she's going to find someone who's going to help her with that. But before we get to that part, the doctor, right? So he ends up a mangled mess, and the cops think that just some other mental patient had broken into the office and had done that because they found the doctor completely destroyed, and Jacqueline S is just sitting in the corner of the office, scared out of her mind, but
all zoned out.
Yeah, zoned out.
Yeah.
But then she goes home to meet her husband.
There's something that's kind of fascinating to me about the idea of her getting this power from a suicide attempt. And it's something that I've thought about a lot, even from when I was a kid, is that this idea that, so for her, she was like at the exact moment in between being alive and being dead, right? And I think that's when this power came to her is in that sort of zero point or in between.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that I've always thought about. I even wrote a story about that when I was in college about that idea. And even when I was a little kid, I took my Atari 2600 and kept flipping the switch back and forth between off and on to try to get it in that perfect place in between being off and on.
Oh.
And I played an alternate version of Frogger where you could jump on the cars and the alligators and stuff. And
You were hacking it.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Hacking reality.
yeah. But I don't know. I just think there's something interesting. There's a kind of a magic in this, and like the idea that if you're trying to walk to a place and every step you take is a half as far as the step before it, that you're always moving forward, but you'll never get there. I don't know. It's hard to kind of put that all together into a coherent thought. But those kind of things I think are sort of fascinating.
Yeah, she definitely accessed a different form of reality
Yeah.
or a way of implementing it with, the flesh. Like, she couldn't do anything with, crystals or metals or anything. It had to be flesh.
Yeah.
No, there was nothing in the story about her doing that to anything like an animal. It just seemed to be people that she did this to.
Right. And we don't know if that's just because
Or
she
objects,
just didn't
yeah.
want to, or if she couldn't.
Right. Or never even thought about it, Yeah. 'cause she was focused on the men that she's been
Right.
encountering.
Yeah.
One thing that hit me while I was reading the story is that I think the fact that she gets this power to control flesh and uses it. Usually, at least in my opinion, women seem to have more of a physical connection with their body in the sense, and that obviously we all have a physical connection with our body. What I'm trying to say is that I think men tend to take our bodies a little more for granted, and women tend to practice more self-care and be more aware of their bodies because of just the way that the biology is different between a man's body and a woman's body. They give birth and they get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And men, we're not sometimes as careful about our bodies or in tune with the needs of our body as I think women are. They always they adorn themselves, right? They put makeup, they put lotions and stuff. And sometimes men are just get in the shower with a big piece of soap and just use the same piece of soap to wash everything and get out,
Yeah.
And
We seem more static when we become adults. We don't change until we
Yeah.
get really old or injured.
yeah. And that's when you enter into the maintenance period at some point. You're like, oh, I gotta take care of my body because otherwise it's not gonna, I can't do the things I used to do when I was 20. Yeah. So I think that in a sense, women are more in tune with the needs of their bodies than men are. Obviously men and women are different, but I just thought that gave me this, different point of view of this. And I wish we could have had a woman join us for a discussion of this, because I would love to have a feminine point of view on this.
Yeah.
But I was talking about the story with Sarah, my wife, and she was also bringing up stuff like that, like body autonomy. One of the themes of this book, she immediately brought that up, that it's something that women care more about than men, because women tend to be women have their own internal world that sometimes is completely alien to men. And that's one of the things that I think comes to a point in this story.
If we try to explain it too much, we're going to get turned into a suitcase.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. She goes home, and sometime after the Dr. Ben has been turned into a mangled mess, her husband decides to, for the first time maybe, to come up truthfully and let her know that their loveless marriage needs to come to an end.
And I guess before we get to that part, one thing that I think is kind of interesting about her encounter with the doctor is that the police don't even take her seriously as a threat. She was the only person in the room with him, and they assumed some madman came in through the window and did all this to the guy and then went back out through the window again. Their explanation is absolutely just stupid. It's preposterous, right? And the person, the most obvious suspect is right there, but once again she's sort of being dismissed, which worked out in her favor. And
her power makes her become more of a threat as the story goes on towards every other guy that's in her way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially in
But
the
Ben,
end.
but Ben is dealing with a depressed wife that tried to commit suicide. And what he thinks he needs to do at this point, instead of trying to help out and work it out, is to tell her that, look, my needs aren't being met and I found someone else.
Uh-huh.
And, she's not like you. She's normal. Not that I mean that you're not normal, but she doesn't go through depressions and she just can't help but thinking in her mind.
And at first she was like, yeah, you can have your affair. It's all right. But then he's like, no, I'm going to find a way to turn this around and blame you for it. And then it starts to turn and it's like, well, I wasn't going to kill you, but now I'm starting to turn
her
around. Her
internal monologue
is
great. It's like, oh no, don't say this. Shut up. No, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
And then he's talking and saying, oh, it's not an affair. I love her. Junk. And his teeth immediately close down and chop off a little bit of his tongue.
Oh my God. Then, so that description of the pink foam that was his teeth, coming out of that's nightmarish. And that stuck with me since 1990 or whatever, when I first read that story.
Dental dread. It's a thing.
Bites so hard, his teeth are destroyed and his lower jaw goes up into his skull. And
because
she's saying shut up, and so he has to shut his whole face until it just kind of mashes together,
implodes in.
Because at this point, Ben is, like you said, he's trying to blame her for all of this, and she's just done with him. She just doesn't want to see him anymore. And then she just actually starts taking control of his body deliberately this time. She's like, well, let's see what we can do. So his mouth closes so hard that his teeth grind and his face starts, and then she starts telescoping his arms into his body and his legs into his body and just wants to make him disappear. She's had enough of him. She just wants him to disappear.
And she folds him up so that his clothes, so he's inside out and his clothes go on the inside, and he's kind of wrapped up because he wanted to leave. And so now you're the suitcase with your clothes on the inside.
That's right. She packed his bags and told him to leave. That's right. There's
he's like a spine shaped bag thing that's left over.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah.
It's gruesome. It's very brutal.
Yeah. And oh my gosh.
Her confidence, her calm in regards to this almost is a shadow of the power that she's wielding almost, but she's still not there in terms of understanding how to use it. After her husband dies and she leaves, because she knows now it's like, there's not going to be 2 gruesome murders with me in the room and they're not going to think that I did it at some point. So she's like, I better just take off and disappear. And that's when she goes out into the world, right?
But it's not fear. It's not like, oh my God, I'm going to get caught. It's like, well, I'm done here. There's nothing left. I'm moving on.
Yeah,
exactly. She's moving on. She's taking control.
Yeah, and so she wants to learn, how do men wield power, right? This is what I want to learn. And so she goes to find Titus Pettifer, who is like a kind of a real estate mogul of sorts, or like a corporate
financial person. He's a billionaire.
He takes over
powerful
companies and decides which ones live and which ones die, and buys them and sells them and stuff.
And the story changes narrators briefly, right? Because all of a sudden we go into Vassie's testimony. There's part 1 and part 2. Yeah. And I think part 1 is him talking about how he met and how he fell in love with Jacqueline. And part 2 is the last day he has on Earth when he finds her. And the way he meets her, he's an attorney, and she comes into his office one day. And I think she gives him some sort of fib, like, oh yeah, Ben passed away with cancer, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And
her husband and him were friends. That's how they met.
Exactly.
Originally.
That's right.
Yeah.
He gets so enamored with her when she shows up at his office that he even cancels all his meetings. And it's
for the rest of the day.
The rest of the day. And it's clear that he's going head over heels. And
but there's something else about that. Every man that she doesn't just outright kill immediately, she exerts her will on, and they're changed.
Yeah.
Good point.
You start seeing this, like I was saying, he cancels all his meetings for a day and just hangs out with her. And then as their relationship continues, professionally, he devolves into nothing. I mean, he's wrecked as a human being.
He becomes consumed.
Just like Oliver,
happens,
right? I mean, Oliver gave up his whole career for that.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So even though when she's not trying to fold your arms backwards, with her mind. Just simply impressing her will, her presence on you changes you fundamentally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you're in a relationship, people tend to change. We tend to get more into the idea of commitment and compromise. And doing that will change the way you do things and change your priorities and changes how you act in certain situations. But in this case, she also becomes almost like an obsession for the men that she meets. And that is true for Vasi. There's an interesting part where Vasi mentions when he started having a relationship with her that he was one of those guys who doesn't really care about your past. He's like, okay, yes, you were married before. I don't need to know all the details of your previous relationships. It's like, I'm interested in the now and the future. And so he didn't look too hard into what happened to his friend Ben. But there's a moment where he mentions, and I wonder if this implies a subtle transformation that she was doing consciously. It mentions that her face, it's not that she has a lot of makeup or it's not that she's conventionally beautiful. She looks like her face just kind of shines differently in different times. Yeah. And makes you wonder if she's almost like altering her face subtly according to her mood. Because there's times that she's beautiful and there's other times that she almost looks like she's got makeup, but then he looks at her and he comes to the realization like she never had any makeup. It was just her and her body looking that way.
Did you guys ever see the show Jessica Jones? Remember in the first season of that, the bad guy of that show could make people do things with his mind and just control their minds. And the only sympathetic thing about this guy is that he didn't really know when people actually liked him for him, or if he was just accidentally, asserting his will against them. So I kind of wonder if Jacqueline S is like that a little bit too, is that she's always asserting her will against people, whether she's trying to or not, just by thinking things and whatever she thinks she can make other people think.
Yeah. She constructs her own narrative,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Through violence.
Yeah. But also in subtle ways too.
She's like, the strange woman, the sorceress, or the witch whose female rage kind of threatens the order of the men around her, or the patriarchs, right? So,
and Clive must have liked this story the best because it became sort of this is Jacqueline S on the cover of Books of Blood, Volume 2, and sort of that's representing all her victims, in her mind there on in the hair.
But Vasi, like you said, David, he becomes so consumed about this. He eventually finds out what she's done, and he finds out that she has that power. And one night, she is sleeping in bed with him, and he's admiring her like lovers do. But then something comes over her body in the middle of the night, and she starts kind of shimmering and moving and twisting, and her features start transforming, and her hair looks like it's like floating in the water. And he's like fascinated by this process and scared. And that's when he realizes that I need to know what she is. And it just makes him love her more, I think, become more consumed about it. Even though Vasi offered her love, what she really wanted was to learn how to wield that power, right? Because just because you have a power doesn't mean you know how to use it. Who holds the purse of power in this world? It's usually men. So she goes out in the world. She leaves Vasi one day. She goes on into the world to find someone who can teach her how to use power. Unfortunately, it was Pettifer.
Yeah.
Right.
And Vasi just goes downhill from there. He loses his job, his will to have any friends. He just becomes like, he's now searching for her.
Yeah.
He can't exist without her type thing.
It makes some sense in the sense that, if you found out that miracles were real, if you found out tomorrow that ghosts were real or something, it probably would consume you for a while. It probably would, you wouldn't take the world for granted anymore. You'd be like trying to find out more about that. And I think
also a person that's always inadvertently or purposely exerting their will on you, they would be like a drug, I think.
Yes.
It's true. That's true. Yeah. But he does say that she wasn't feeding on him. He didn't feel manipulated. He says she was no Lamia, no succubus. Yeah. What happened to me was of my own making. She didn't bewitch me. She was a sea and I had to swim in her, which is a beautiful sentence that we brought at the beginning of the episode. But
it's like I can quit anytime I want.
Yeah.
So I wonder if she, subconsciously is exerting a control over people and not even realizing it.
Yeah.
Or people, or like you said, they've experienced a miracle and it's like, I can't, unsee what I've seen now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And also, he's
the
committed
world
to
that
her.
I used to know is meaningless.
Yeah.
exactly.
And also he's committed to her like we're committed to our spouses, I guess. He just wants to spend the rest of his life with her. And so he wants to be the witness of that miracle. But unfortunately, she leaves. Yeah, but after she leaves, he loses his job. He lost his identity. He lost his friends. And he just becomes consumed with finding her. Then she meets Titus Pettifer, right? He's a guy who has a lot of monopolies. He makes fortunes and whatever. So he's kind of like a capitalist, C-suite kind of guy.
He's like a Bezos or
Yeah.
one of those types,
But one of those guys who, despite being a big man, he actually is a big man just because of the money he has and the power he wields. But when it comes down to the physicality, we're all just human. We're all just a scared person with our own weaknesses and our strengths. And that's what comes out during their time together, I guess.
Literally the first sentence she says is, "This is a powerful man."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's very underwhelmed by, she thought he would be more powerful like her in a way. And turns out it's like, really? This is power?
It even mentions that his chin wasn't even strong.
She still stays with him. I didn't quite understand it. I couldn't figure out, did she ever learn something from him? Why did she stay if she was so underwhelmed?
I think she learned from him how to use power and not feel guilty about it.
Okay.
Like, learn your instincts. If your instincts say this is a bad situation, ditch it, do that, and don't feel bad about it. Don't overthink.
Yeah.
That seems to be the case that she got from him, and that was like really it.
Yeah.
It's like, make your decision, move on, don't care. Don't look back. Don't second guess yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says here that she was learning from him, and the things that it mentions here is like how to be a ruthless or merciless, how to exercise power, or learn how to be powerful without exercising power, how to make plain decisions plainly, how to be merciless. Although she already kind of was a little bit like that.
Yeah.
But it does say that even though she spends time with Pettifer, not once did she show herself to him, although she used her skills in the most secretive ways to tease pleasure out of his stale nerves. So she offers him her body in exchange for him teaching her power. But then she realizes that he's such an insecure man and he's always afraid of things. He's afraid of his secretary learning about the affair. He's afraid of his wife learning about the affair. He's always scared. He's powerful, but he's in his personal life. He doesn't show that power. And
he's very inept lover as well. And
exactly
one of the reasons why she's like, really, this is a powerful person. Yeah.
His hired assistant Lyndon is suspicious of Jacqueline, and he investigates her and he figures out how Ben died, and Ben comes to her and says like, "Hey, we can't continue this anymore."
And it's funny because it's not because I'm having an affair. That's not a problem. It's because you're a murderer suspect.
Yeah. And he's like, "It's
my
okay
reputation.
For me."
My reputation cannot handle that.
Yeah. It can handle, it said it could handle a mistress or two, but not a murderer.
Right, right. So, and his secretary is actually kind of like blackmailing him in a sense, right?
Well, not almost. I think he does.
He does,
yeah.
And then one day he tells her, he sits her down and says, "I have to stop seeing you." And that's when all this stuff comes out. In the dialogue, he mentions things like this was a mistake, things that he says that are just hurtful.
He turns around and when she leaves, he has to hunt her down and he kidnaps her, and she just kind of goes along with it like, well, okay, let's see where this goes.
Well, she makes a visit to the assistant before that.
Yeah.
Lyndon. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And she
kills him.
He goes full on.
Yeah.
He gets really vile with her.
Violent, yeah.
Yeah.
And uses the special words that really makes women mad.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay,
Yeah.
see how this works, big boy. And
Yeah. Yeah. While he's yelling all these words, at her and calling her a
Blitzen.
prostitute and stuff.
And
And
she
she's
didn't. And she didn't kill Pettifer because Pettifer
No.
kind of humiliates himself and goes he whimpers please don't kill me, stuff like that. And so she understands, okay, well, I think she kind of feels a little bit of disgust about him and she kind of leaves him. But she goes to Lyndon, and that's when Lyndon gets turned into a pile of goo. He gets torn apart, right? He gets torn into split down the middle and just
presses on him until finally his nose and forehead split first.
Yeah.
And then the rest of his body.
Yeah. And it wasn't like ironic in the way that the other ones where it's just like, I just want to kill this guy.
And he just goes off in a big misogynistic rant. Even as he's dying, he's still spitting insults at her. And it makes it real easy for her. It makes it real easy.
Yeah.
Then she goes off into the world, and now she's wondering, she was doing this in a way to see what other enemies were coming out of the woodwork, because she knows at some point that she's going to get known. People are going to know about her, and there's going to be people coming to try to find her and use her power. And they do. Even
though he left her, right, Titus Pettifer, he realizes later that, I can't live without you. It's kind of the same thing as Oliver Vassy. But he's too scared to go see her himself. And so he hires people to go kidnap her and doesn't tell him what can happen to them if they do this.
And I got the vibe that it's not just that he can't live without her. It's also that he can't live with her because he knows she exists, and he was vulnerable in front of her, and she could have killed him, and she could still kill him. And I think that kind of made him, it's like you can't live with them. You can't live without them,
Like butterflies, you touch the wings, they're damaged. They can't fly again.
Right. Yeah. Oh,
when she is with somebody, and this happens a few other times too. They're just damaged people. They just can't seem to function.
Yeah.
Properly anymore, because he has his people kidnap her, and it's not a brutal kidnapping. It's kind of like she just goes with them willingly.
Yeah.
And she goes to a very nice place. Anything she asks for, she gets, except her freedom. But she has, the run of the place. She's not being mistreated, manhandled, especially. And then eventually he comes, and he is a shell of what he was.
Yeah.
He is, gaunt and has not been eating right or sleeping. And I think he comes to her and actually begs her to kill him.
Yeah.
Because like you said, he can't live with her and he can't live without her. And she's like, no, I'm not doing that. But she does something else.
Yeah. And it's sort of like that dominatrix thing, right? Where a dominatrix is on the one hand, they're exerting power over men, but on the other hand, it's because the men are asking for it. And so it's kind of like, is this feminism? What is this? And so if somebody comes to her and begs her to kill them, it's like, why am I going to do this just because you want me to?
She even says that in the story that, what's the old Masses joke? I want you to hurt me. And the sadist says, no.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
hurt me. No.
Yeah.
Which is more sadistic to the masochist than actually hurting them.
Yeah.
And did she knew who kidnapped her? Who was behind her kidnapping? I don't remember.
She did, yeah.
Yes.
I knew.
So she probably was waiting for him or something.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's another section here with the Vassy's testimony where he mentions that he was trying to find her again. And one day he does find her in the street, and he follows her up to a hotel. He didn't call her out, but then he sees her come out of the hotel and two guys grab her. And it says she just goes with them, no protest. Yeah. And that's when they take her to Pettifer, those two thugs.
Yeah. It's like when Superman gets arrested, right? He just, he's just like, yeah, sure, you can put the handcuffs on me if you want. Okay. She's just thinking let's see where this goes. This is interesting. Right. Yeah.
But my take on Pettifer, why he kidnaps her and he wants her to kill him, I think it's almost, it's this thing he was at her mercy and he didn't like it. And then he says, I can't live with you because you revolt me, woman. Your whole being disgusts me. Mm-hmm. So she asks, and he said, so kill me. It's like, it's just such a weird situation to be in.
And if he just left her alone, right, he would have probably been fine, I guess. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, she didn't care once she left.
Yeah.
She got what she wanted and it's like, okay, goodbye.
Yeah, but I guess emotionally he's a wreck.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he's consumed with guilt. He says, give me what I deserve. I've locked you up. I've rejected you. Just punish me for it. So he's very masochistic in this. He wants to be punished by mommy. And she's like, no, because he's also trying to manipulate her in this moment, right? He's trying to tell her what to do.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I'm not going to do what you tell me.
Yeah.
Just because you want it. I'm not your mother. I'm not your whatever.
Yeah.
Until finally he starts going after her really hard.
Yeah.
And
blowing, hitting her and stuff.
So she kind of turns him into a bulldog.
A crab,
a pet.
Right? Yeah, or a crab. Because she creates this huge underbite with his jaw like a bulldog, but
folds he has appendage, like crab-like appendages. Finally,
and
scutters
she does it
around
in a way that doesn't kill him.
And he dies kind of like how Lyndon died, right? Angry and spitting insults at her and calling her a monster. And he's like, well, you call me a monster, I'm a monster. So she just
And the two thugs come in. And we're the boss, and he scurries out from under the table, and they're like horrified. So they end up shooting and killing him, just out of what the hell is that?
Yeah, like in Hellraiser 2, it looks like it suffered a little accidental damage.
But then she doesn't kill them.
Yeah,
right.
She enforces her will, exerts her will, and one of them just drops to his knees. And then the other one, she actually has a nice, quiet little cordial chat. She asks about his mom. What kind of woman was she? And, and then eventually find out that the one guard kills himself in prison because he went to a mental institution. Mm-hmm. And the other guard stays there and actually does a drawing of her on the wall that Vasily, when he finally comes back to the area, he meets him. And he's as damaged as all the other men. He can't function now anymore.
Yeah, seeing that traumatized him. Yeah.
Yeah, he painted like a mural of Jacqueline and the crab creature and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She does reduce him to a dog. And then she says, come on, come.
Yeah.
And when the gunman sees that thing, he's like, he just kills him.
Yeah.
And then he says, how did this happen? And she said, he asked. It was all I could give him.
Yeah.
And he just falls to his knees. Oh.
Yeah.
And that's when we go back to Vassie's testimony, right? So after that, it looks like years go by, at least. There's a part here where they mentioned that he looked for her for years. And,
there's some time elapse there.
Exactly. Yeah. He goes to the house in Surrey where Pettifer had been killed, and that's where he sees that graffiti.
Surrey. They do mention Surrey. That's the other location. So it's still in England.
Yeah. Sees the graffiti of a scrawled woman, obscenely overendowed, her gaping sex blazing with what looked like lightning, and at her feet was a creature of indeterminate species, perhaps a crab, perhaps a dog, perhaps even a man. The guy is so traumatized that he created that thing there to mark the event of what happened and get that vision out of his head, I guess. He definitely recognizes the drawing as Jacqueline. And like you said, he meets that guy and tells him where she is. And then he tells him that she's gone to Amsterdam. And that's where the third act of the story is going to take place. Yeah. Amsterdam.
Yeah. And the conclusion of the testimony of Oliver Vassie, right? It was teased before, like he's, at the door waiting to see her. But now we get the conclusion of it where he actually gets to meet Jacqueline again for the last time.
But I understand that the third act might be a little disappointing for some people. Like Eric, you mentioned that the third act to you seems a little.
He kind of lost me here.
Yeah.
Not because it was situated in Amsterdam. But I didn't. I guess
it's more. Is it because of she doesn't really find anything meaningful in Amsterdam. Like she just becomes like,
Yeah.
I could
I
see
would
that.
have liked to see her become really powerful.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
never
Yeah, like
really
learning something and doing
Yeah.
something positive for herself with it. I would
She
have
never-
liked that. Yeah.
becomes like a major force. Like you think
No.
she could be able to take over whole nations or become whatever, but she ends up allowing herself to be tied down because her body is changing so much, and then she becomes a prostitute.
Prostitute,
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing, David, you had mentioned before her conversation with that bodyguard guy. What did your mother do? Well, she was a prostitute. Well, was she happy? It's like she never really smiled, but she didn't cry either. And so it's like she didn't feel anything. And I don't know, there was something important about that, and I'm not 100% sure I understand it, but there was something really important about that conversation that turned her around and sent her in this direction, which I don't, I'm not quite sure that I follow it.
Yeah. And I was a little bit disappointed, I think, because I thought, Jesus, Clive, why did you have to make her a prostitute? This is so not feminist.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
There are only two women, a mother and a whore. And now she's no, don't do that.
Yeah. Although she's a prostitute, she's like the ultimate prostitute because I don't think that her clients come out of that room once they go in.
Right.
So
they're
her
used up.
female rage is using her body as a way of exacting revenge on men in a way. So I do see that part of the situation she's in. Although she is being used, she also reclaims her agency through erotic violence. She exerts her power and her needs are met by consuming the men that come to her.
And she has a pimp, but he's not using her. She's using him. He's as trapped as anybody else. But
Right.
He's a pretty vile person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He thought he had it up over her once, and she's like, "No, you're not."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ironic,
she
'cause he
just gave him, he could do whatever he wants, but he had just one instruction. If Oliver Vassy comes, just let him in. Don't steal all his stuff or make him wait. Just let him come straight in. And of course, no, he can't do that. He doesn't understand the significance. He doesn't care. He's just like, you're just another one of these people, and I'm going to take everything you own and make.
And
you
it's
wait
almost
for
like Jacqueline is not subjected or subservient to Kuz. He doesn't have power over her. It says here actually in the story that Kuz's function was disposing of the dead. So he's kind of in a way working for her as she's working for him. It's kind of a situation where it's like,
he keeps everything. All he does is maintain this mattress on the floor for her. She doesn't seem to get anything from the, even though he's taking their life savings and everything they own.
And also,
he's keeping the money, but she's just getting them,
Yeah.
Yeah. And
right.
And why does she do it? Why does? It's not clear for me. It's
Well,
Yeah,
it does say that
she is.
it does say at some point, Kuz mentions to Vassy before he goes in the room that she is insatiable,
Yeah.
So it looks like this situation that she's in, it's like that monstrous appetite, right? That marks the villains of Clive Barker's stories. She's also being consumed by that. Like we said, this power is almost a curse and
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, it's almost like a curse and a weapon that she uses. And in that sense, she's also a traumatized person. She's depressed. She's got all these things, right?
Yeah.
She's not a full
Suicide
person. And this
survivor.
is the broken situation she finds herself in.
Clive's characters are usually not like superheroes. They transform to a
that's
point
true.
where they're unrecognizable, or they go beyond beyond the limits, right? Of even Frank not being satisfied with the life that he has, he gets something that's way past what he actually wants.
Yeah.
And
there's actually a scene, a line here that says that with Jacqueline, there were no limits, which is the original tagline for Hellraiser. Right. There are no limits.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or the Holiday House in The Thief of Always, right? It's like Harvey's like, not content with the life that he has, but this other thing that he's getting offered is awful. It's stealing his taking away the life that he knew.
Yeah, but in a way, this idea of like they come to her to be drained and discarded, and she takes everything from them. Kuz give to go into that room. You have to give everything you have because you're not going to need it anymore, right?
Right.
That room is like a cell where she's taking her revenge, and men are going there with different expectations and just finding out that they're just playthings for her.
Yeah.
Vasi is different, right? Vasi is different because Vasi loves her. She actually
has the good feelings for him too.
Yeah.
She mentions them.
One of the things that they mentioned, which makes us think that he sees her as a whole person, is that he calls her by her whole name, Jacqueline, right? He's one of the only guys who ever called her by her whole name, almost in a way of implying that he sees her as a full person. I think
and she knew that he was going to come, because why would she give instructions to a guy if this silly guy ever shows up, let him in?
Yeah.
She must have known that he was going. Well, she knew that Titus was coming for her, so she must have known that Vasily was looking for her too somehow.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of weird because when you see the description of her in the room with this soiled mattress, chained down, spread eagle, that was the most degrading, humiliating thing. But it turns out, no, she's at her most powerful at this point.
Yes.
Well, beyond her own control.
Exactly.
Almost. Yeah.
She harms herself in her sleep. She mutilates herself without knowing it. She would wake up bleeding.
Yeah.
And
she has to be tied down because she's now a danger to herself. But
so it's like she's crossed another threshold, like the in between life and death and the suicide. Now she's crossed another threshold where she has too much power, more than she can handle.
Right.
Yeah.
One amazing vignette that they describe is that one day she woke up with every limb sprouting needles that she'd made out of her own skin and muscle, like a flesh cactus, which obviously for Hellraiser fans, it's like, whoa, what? She's got like needles coming out of her body? No, that's classic Clive Barker.
Yeah. And her skin and stuff is getting stretched to the point where it's losing its elasticity, and it's, she's hurting herself because these things don't just go back to the way they were anymore.
Right.
And Vasi arriving is almost like what she's waiting for. And this is the moment of resolution, right?
Yes.
When Vasi is at the door, he makes the deal with Kuz. He goes in. Kuz opens the door that's locked. And then she tells him like, well, you can stay if you want. And he's like, oh, stay and watch. It's like, and then once Vasi walks to her,
sure, if that's what you want to believe.
It shows how little, Kuz meant to her, because the first thing she does when Vasi moves towards her, she crushes Kuz's lungs and heart. And he just
his lungs
slumps down. Yeah,
he dies the easiest of everybody. He just dies.
She doesn't make an effort. She just
that's how much he was worth her.
Yeah.
But he asks her, why did you let them do this to you? And she's like, because I was afraid to move, to live. Every day was agony. And
that's true. I forgot it. Yeah.
She's almost, at this point, kind of detached from the control of her power. But like I said, a moment of resolution. Now they're together, and this is the moment where she can finally relax and they can be together. There's a movie coming out now. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but there's a movie about a couple that goes out in the woods and takes a dip into a weird magic lagoon. And then when they touch each other, they start sticking to each other and merging into one person.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll see if I can find that. Cause that seems like, I think it's called Together or something.
Yeah. Who was it? Somebody mentioned in one of our comments. Was it Jeff Portis? Or somebody said like Clive was ahead of his time or something like that. Cause look at the trailer for Together, I think.
Right. It was a movie with Dave Franco that's coming out, and Alison Brie. I think the movie is coming out 3 days on July 30. So, I'm looking forward to watching that because the trailer looked kind of weird.
So
but it also
like a
has
body
this kind
horror sort of a thing.
Yeah. Like if they touch each other, their skin starts merging together and they have to stay apart. But then the guy feels bound to reach her. And I thought this reminds me a lot of this kind of situation that we're seeing here with Jacqueline S. So I thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah.
But it's the final moment, right?
Yeah, and so I guess we should probably also talk about briefly we could talk about the attempts to make this into a movie, because it happened. Raven Banner was attached, and they even got so far as casting Jacqueline S. It was Lena Headey from Game of Thrones and from the Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, the TV show.
That's
and
right.
Laid to Rest. She was in those movies. Yeah.
Okay.
She's in the Judge Dredd movie too.
Yeah, Dredd, yeah.
Right.
Mama.
She was,
Mama,
yeah.
yeah.
She's a great
that's
actress.
a good one.
It was an awesome choice.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that never came to be. And I wonder if somebody were making a movie today, would they have to have the point of view of police who are trying to figure out what's going on with these mysterious bodies, that are turning up all inside out and stuff?
Yeah. Which is great because the story, that was not part of the story at all.
No, it wasn't.
No.
But I think it seems like they would feel like they had to do that.
Would have
in a
to.
movie.
Yeah. Some kind of investigation,
But you also have to, stretch the story to make it movie length. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
seems a
Vassy.
logical choice.
Vassy
although
would be an
the-
investigator or something.
Yeah.
But instead
The
of a lawyer-
audiobook for this was an hour and a half, but a lot of
Okay.
that is Oliver Vassie's testimony and people's internal monologues and stuff. So once you put that down on a movie script, probably would be a little short for a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little more info, because I looked up a lot of stuff about Raven Banner. So
Yeah.
the option deal and the budget for the adaptation was going to be about a $3 million production. They were going to try to finance it and produce it in Ontario, Canada. It was going to set for a fall 2014 shooting schedule. And like you said, Jovanka Vukovic, director, was confirmed to direct. She was going to co-write it with Christian Francis, and Lena Headey was going to star. Then, unfortunately, they tried shopping it around, but I don't think they actually got financing, and that's basically how that just kind of went off the market. But yeah, that they tried to do that about 11 years ago. $3 million didn't seem like a lot of money that they couldn't get, but for some reason it just didn't materialize.
Well, and the co-writing thing was Christian Francis. There were 3 different drafts: one Russell Charrington, then Christian Francis, and then Jovanka rewriting the one that Christian had written.
Was it like that, or was it first
Yeah.
Christian Francis?
Yeah, because she came and stayed in the house with Clive, and I think
That's right.
I think I'm not 100%, but I think that she was doing that on her own without him.
And then in 2018, 4 years after the Raven Banner attempt, I think that I remember we posted in our blog an article by Rob Ridenour where he talked to Russell, and he posted the test footage that Russell had done as a pitch to Clive Barker. And in 2018, he said that the rights had reverted back to Clive and were once again available. And this pitch that Russell did, I think it was shot in 2015, and you can find it on YouTube. It's okay. I mean, just a pitch, but the footage is interesting.
Yeah.
Coos is played by Hugh Ross in that short clip. The guy who played Narcisse in Nightbreed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that old guy outside the door. That's Hugh Ross, who played Narcisse in Nightbreed.
Yeah.
He seems familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be a great casting choice,
I know.
for the movie for sure.
I know.
Yeah, it's sad, and there's actually a lot more stories of Books of Blood failed adaptations than there are ones that were actually came to pass.
Which you think with streaming now, that would be more opportunities for these to come out, either on Netflix or Amazon or anything.
Yes.
I think the problem is that the original, it's kind of like what we were talking about with The Thief of Always, is that there's original rights holders. Like Hulu tried to make a Books of Blood anthology series, and it was supposed to be, I'm sure that they originally wanted to do all the stories. And then they find out, well, this person's got this one, that person's got that one. And then they just ended up doing only the Book of Blood and a new story. They didn't even, and they made it a movie length instead of an anthology TV series. And so I think they're going to run into rights issues. I mean, I would love to see a TV series like that, and maybe even animated, right? And just do them 100% faithful to the short stories. That's what I'd like to see.
Each season could be the one book,
Yeah.
It's perfectly done for that.
Yeah. Right. And
But
some of the longer stories like Rawhead Rex might take more than one episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just seems to be like a massive, like you say, it's probably just mired in rights issues.
Yeah.
And
just about every story has been attempted. The success stories being Candyman from the Forbidden, and the Book of Blood was pretty good. I mean, it was a lower budget, and it's direct to video, I think, right? Wasn't theatrical. I can't remember. I don't think it was theatrical. And the Midnight Meat Train.
And Ryan, didn't they try to develop, Seraphin, I think, tried to develop a Jacqueline S story for Madefire comic books? Remember those animated comic books?
Right,
I think that was on the queue to be done, but then that didn't go forward.
Yeah, it was going to be the Book of Blood and then Midnight Meat Train. And then I think maybe Jacqueline S. I'm not sure.
Midnight Meat Train is kind of like the biggest cast they had, because it's Bradley Cooper and Vinnie Jones.
But Bradley Cooper was kind of unknown at that time.
Yeah.
And
he got a nomination or an Oscar with Silver Linings Playbook or whatever.
Yeah,
that's when he became super big.
Well, and the Hangover movies, I think, were
that's what blew him up, really.
Yeah.
I never saw those. But
really?
I've heard they're really good. Yeah.
The first two. Don't skip the third one.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it gets more and more implausible that this kind of stuff could keep on happening to these people.
Yeah. But just to finish the story, so Vassie finally, Kuz is dead. He walks up to her, and his last thought is he kisses her and he thinks, oh my God, we're together. And thinking that they're together, they kind of just melt into each other.
Yeah.
His organ becomes like a spear that when he thrusts kill her, and she melts him into her, and they become just a big puddle on the ground.
And that's really reminiscent of Pio Pa and Gentle, right? They merge together in this way, or sort of melt together in their magical their sort of magical sexual stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Like lost.
But they don't,
each other.
they don't die, but yeah.
So this story is one of the stories that I never forgot from the Books of Blood, which is kind of funny when you guys were saying, I forgot I read this story. It's like, every time I mentioned Books of Blood, it's like Dread, Jacqueline S., the one with the giants, with the people giants,
in the hills, the cities.
For the hills.
Yeah.
Those are some of the stories that always pop up in my head when I think of Books of Blood.
Yeah, the hills, the cities, that's for me the one that pops up in my mind.
Oh, yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
short, but
that's
it's so
like
good.
the most critically acclaimed, I think, out of all of the Books of Blood.
Oh, it's not very original for me. No.
I still hold the hope of seeing an adaptation of Jacqueline S. in the future. I think they would need to have a team that would be willing to put some real stuff on film.
I can't believe a $3 million budget couldn't get made. I mean, that's so modest.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know how they would have done it in terms of special effects with just $3 million, though. It feels like this would be something that would need. I'm not saying that this would be a special effects movie per se, but there definitely needs to be some special effects to show the power, right? To show what happens and the brutality of the killings and the rage that's behind them. I think that's important to depict them properly.
Yeah, kind of like From Beyond, or that kind of like over the top crazy practical effects.
But I think it would also be good to have like someone who could give it like a female point of view. So I was excited when it was going to be like a woman directing this, because I always feel like, well, she's going to bring stuff to the table that guys would never come up with. And I would be looking forward to see that. And I still hope that we get to see an adaptation of this in the future, because
it seems like the rights would not be so much an issue on this, because it seems like I think maybe Clive has them again.
Yeah, right.
That's true.
And do you guys? Until this came up, I had never heard of Raven Banner before. Have you heard of any movies that they've made?
After they couldn't get this one finance, I think they moved on to do other movies. But yeah, you're right. I had not been super knowledgeable about Raven Banner, and I know that Jovanka at one point was the chief editor of Rue Morgue magazine.
Yeah, I'm looking at their film page right now. It's not. It's all hundreds of beavers. It's
Oh, I saw that movie. That was fun.
Yeah,
That's
one
on
of
Prime
those.
Video.
I didn't
Did
see
you say
it, but I
hundreds
heard
of
good things
beavers?
about it.
Yeah, it's a silent movie. It's about a trapper. It's in black and white, and the beavers are obviously puppets. But it's a comedy. It's kind of a comedy of a trapper that wants to marry the daughter of the trading post guy that buys his furs. But then the beavers get together and they rise up against the trapper. It's a funny movie. There's no dialogue. It's a full length movie, but it's hilarious. I do recommend Hundreds of Beavers. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe that's why they didn't get the financing.
Yeah.
Well, it's a small scale movie, I guess. It only has like 3 actors and then the puppets and stuff. But
yeah, I don't know much about Raven Banner. I just don't. I wonder if another studio had proposed this, if it might have been successful.
Like a Blumhouse or something.
Yeah.
A24, one of the better known.
Yeah.
This looks more something for A24, right?
As I say,
It does. Yeah.
Substance is anymore. Was it also at A24? I think so.
I think they produced in a movie in 2023 called Triggered. It's an ex-special forces operative suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder who, trying to become a security guard, attempts to save the life of a woman who's being hunted by a corrupt police death squad working for a drug cartel. Looks like an action movie. So, looks like they executive produced that one. I have to assume that at some point in the future that we're going to be seeing this adapted at some point because there's still so many good stories. And I think this one is a timeless story that could be done anytime. It's not like...
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not pegged to the 80s or 90s or anything like that. It's anytime you could do this.
Yeah.
But it would have to be unflinching in the depiction of the story, I believe, to really make it come to life.
I think the audience would be flinching a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it in Tapping the Vein?
No, it's not.
No.
There was no comic adaptation of this one that I know.
No.
Coming up next, we'll talk about Lord of Illusions in 4K, the new Shout Factory version of Lord of Illusions. We talked about doing a trading cards episode and possible interview for the future. We'll see.
Let us know in the comments if you like this story and
yeah,
what was your experience reading it.
And this podcast, having no beginning, will have no end. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have subscribed or followed our podcast. You can find the Clive Barker Podcast wherever you find audio. Show notes for this episode, as well as news and reviews, can be found at our website at www.clivebarkercast.com. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial podcast and blog that's not affiliated with Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans. You can chat with us on our Facebook BarkerCast listeners group, our Facebook page, Reddit, Blue Sky, or our Discord server. Have you already bought our book? The BarkerCast Interviews Occupy Midian, available in Amazon hardcover, Kindle, and Apple Books. Join our Patreon and become a patron to get access to exclusive stuff, pick an episode topic, or maybe join in the discussion. You can also buy a t-shirt in our TeePublic store. Just go to teepublic.com/stores/BarkerCast. Leave a voicemail for us on the SpeakPipe link on our blog and we might put it in the episode. Opening and ending music generously provided by Ray Norrish.
Thanks for listening.